What's up, guys? This is Ray here again, and sorry about the lessons being slow this week. I had a really busy week and didn't get a chance to do a couple, but this is going to be a long lesson, so hopefully you guys will be cool with counting it as two, maybe. But we're going to be talking about intervals, and interval, I can describe it as the space in between two notes. Now, it's kind of like you have a specific space in between two notes and they need to be defined. So because of needing that definition, you need intervals. You need to have a word for that, so to speak. Alright, so between C and G, that's a perfect fifth. And between C and F, that's a perfect fourth. So intervals are basically describing to a person that doesn't have a guitar or doesn't have a piano or doesn't have an instrument in front of them, you're describing the amount of space between the notes. Alright, and it's a universal language. You can talk about intervals to any musician and they'll be able to communicate on a level. It's kind of like just a level playing field for all of us. Alright, so kind of like a major scale and a minor scale. They're going to be the same for instrumentalists. Alright, so before we talk about that, I'm going to go ahead and tie in something that we have been talking about. We've been talking about major scales, and hopefully everybody's been practicing those and working on those. And I thought that if I showed you something like the major scales, or the major scale in thirds, we could touch on intervals, and you could go back and apply it to what you've learned with scales, and it would help you solidify the connection between intervals and how they are used. Alright, so I'm going to play the C major scale in thirds, and it sounds like this. Alright, so that's a C major scale in thirds. And notice how there's some skips in between. Usually a C major scale sounds like this. Oh man, I'm sorry. I was thinking in thirds. Let me try it again. Alright, so when you hear it in thirds, it sounds like this. Alright, so you hear that there are jumps in between there. Alright? Those jumps are in thirds, and a third is an interval. Alright, so let's talk about intervals. Basically we have 12 notes in scale, or we have 12 notes in music. In our Western music we have 12 notes. In scale we have 7 notes in an octave, as we remember from the major scale and minor scale videos. But we do have 12 notes total. If we were to go chromatically from C, and chromatically means step by step, so C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, and C, we would count 12. Alright, so chromatically we have 12 notes, and in between those notes, if we were to start on C and go to a C sharp or a D flat, same thing, that would be an interval of a minor second. Okay? Now it's the second, so it has to be a D flat. You can't say C to C sharp, because C to C sharp is just a first. It's a first root. Alright? So you have to say D flat in order for it to be a second. So it's a minor second. Alright, now most people hear a minor second and they hear the Jaws theme song. Okay, you get the idea. Alright? Or, I'm not even going to go there. But you hear that minor second and you hear the Jaws theme song. Alright? So the space between a C and a D flat is a minor second away. Now, if we went from an E to an F, it would also be a minor second interval. Alright? So a major second interval would be, there would be space in between. Alright, now remember from the last lesson we talked about two notes not having any space in between them, B and C, and E and F. Alright, so that's the reason I said E to F is a minor second, because E to F sharp would be a major second. Alright, so there's that space in between. So from C to D, that would be a major second. Okay, now if you have some staff paper, you might want to be writing this down and just kind of looking at it from that point of view, it may make a little bit more sense when it's actually on a staff. But I'm going to try and show you here on the guitar. That way you can physically see it. And I used a guitar with fret markers, so there you go for that. So, alright, so C to D, the major second, it kind of sounds like you're starting a scale, alright? Or if I played it anywhere else, you just feel like it's going on. So an easy way to remember major second interval is just, it sounds like a scale. It sounds like it's going somewhere. Alright, or alright, major or minor scales, you know, that interval is going to be a major second. Alright, now a bunch of these intervals have songs, and we'll go through them real quick. So a minor second would be Jaws, and a major second would be scalar. So, alright, now when we go up another fret to an E flat, we have a third because C is the first, D is the second, and E is the third. So E flat is a minor third away from C. So, okay, so that interval is minor third, and the way that a cool way to remember it is it's the lullaby. And it goes on from there. But you hear that minor third interval, alright? Now, some people say that minor intervals are a little bit sadder and major intervals are a little bit happier. You can think of it that way, but to me it's just an interval, right? It's a little weird. Alright, so minor third, we hear the lullaby. Alright, now a major third, like I was playing in the scale a little while ago, will be from C to E. Now it's a third because C is the first, D is the second, and E is the third. It's a third, but it's a major because it has this amount of space. Now we're going to have to start talking about space, and it's really going to get a little weird for a second, but just hang with me and I'll describe it as best I can. Alright? Now, between C and C sharp, it's a half step. Alright? Now, between C and D, it's a whole step. Alright? Now, when we start building other intervals, we're going to start talking about them as far as steps away from the root. Alright? So, remember we have a half step to the C sharp and a whole step to the C. Now, we have a whole step and a half to the minor third. Now, for the major third, we're going to have two full steps. So, here's one step and here's the second step. Alright, now, two full steps, just thinking about their space in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4 half steps or 2 whole steps, and that's what your major third interval is. Sorry, that's my dog barking at probably absolutely nothing because she just loves to bark. Alright, so C to E. Alright, so that's the major third. Now, a lot of people just hear Oh, and the Saints. Alright. Alright, there you go. Alright, so you hear that interval. Now it's there anywhere. Start on an E, you're going to go up to a G sharp. Oh my gosh, that sounds awful. That's right though. Alright, sorry, I had to get it out. Alright, so you have those 2 full steps from any note at all. You have 2 full steps, and that's a major third. Alright, so now we have a perfect fourth, which this is where things get a little bit weird. There's 3 perfect intervals in music: perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, and a perfect octave. Alright, so it's P4, P5, and P8. Alright, everything else has a major and a minor that go along with it. But the fourth, the fifth, and the eighth, they're just perfect intervals. Alright, and we can go into a long discussion about that, but I'm not. Alright, so the perfect fourth, they're also very strong intervals. Okay, so and I'll explain that when we get there, but this is the perfect fourth away from C. Alright, and a lot of people hear, oh, here comes the bride. Yeah. So you hear that. everywhere. Alright, you hear it everywhere. That's just a, oh, here comes a bride. It's a perfect fourth. Alright. Now if we look at a perfect fourth on guitar, we're going to have 2 steps and a half. So 2.5 steps away from C is your perfect fourth. Alright. Now there's a note that's very evil. And it's called a tritone, and it's in between the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth. And for a long time, musicians in the church were not allowed to play this interval. Alright, now supposedly if you break it down in a certain way, it equals 666 or whatever. But whatever, it's just an ugly interval. Most people don't use it. Some hardcore people use it a lot. But I'll just show it to you. It's right here. Alright, now whenever you hear something that sounds very tensiony, it's probably a tritone, because there's nothing that tensiony in music. Alright, so you hear that that tension there. Alright, so it's in between a perfect fourth and a perfect fifth, which means it's 3 steps away from the root. Alright, which I'm sure plays into the 6/6 thing. 6 half steps. Anyway. So we're not, don't worry about that one. Don't worry about that one. There's no song that goes along with it. Alright, but we're going to keep on going. So, perfect fifth away from C, which would be, there's 2 steps, so it would be 3.5 steps for the perfect fifth. So, from C is the G, and you hear Star Wars. Alright, but you hear that. Now, the perfect fifth is it's the strongest interval in music. It just is. Alright, most cadences have to do, and cadence is like the end of the song. Alright, just think about that, or just think about that. Everybody hears that. Everybody's used that before. Alright, now the perfect fifth is a very strong interval. A lot of people use those power chords or 5 chords. What they are is the root, the fifth, and the root again. Alright, so that interval is the strongest interval that we have. Alright, and we capitalize on it. We use it a lot at the end of songs. We use it a lot to tonicize key changes, and we use it a lot when we're modulating inside a piece and all that other stuff. But just know that it's the perfect fifth. Alright, now past the perfect fifth, we have the minor 6. Alright, now a lot of people will hear West Side Story, but I hear that the love story. I don't know if you ever heard that, but if you open up a music box, it usually plays that. So, alright, so C to A flat is the minor 6. Now the major 6, alright, that's NBC. Everybody hears that. NBC. Alright, so alright, so that's C to A. It's also your relative minor. So if you're looking for a relative minor and want to do it fast, go the major 6 interval away from the root, and you have your relative minor. Now let's count the actual half steps and whole steps to this one. We know that 3 was a tritone, so 3.5 would be the perfect fifth, 4 would be the minor 6, and 4.5, sorry, so 3.5, 4.5 would be your major 6. Alright, so 4.5 steps from C would be an A. Alright, now if we went to 5, we would have the B flat, which is the minor 7th interval, and well, I hear Star Trek. And it's the original Star Trek, the one that was played by Maynard Ferguson. So I hear that. If you haven't that song, check it out. Check out the Maynard Ferguson version because it's awesome. All right, and then we have the major 7th. All right, now a lot of people get this interval confused with the tritone. Alright, but it's just because there's tension. Alright, don't let tension be something that holds you down. Embrace that tension, because the greater the tension, the greater the release. Alright, always think about that when you're writing music or when you're trying to do solos or anything like that. Provide some tension, because if things just stay nice and pretty all the time, things get boring real fast. Alright, so embrace that tension. The major 7th is a beautiful interval. There's a lot of cool things happening there, and when we use it in the chord, we get these beautiful notes. Alright, so it's a really cool interval. I really love the major 7th interval. And then you got the octave. Now, if you want to remember that interval, just think of the pull that's going on. Alright, your ear should be tingling until you hear that resolution. Alright, so, and then the octave, it's just an octave away. Everybody knows that. Alright, so those are intervals. Let's do a quick recap. We got Jaws for the minor 2nd. We got Scalar for the major 2nd. Alright, we got the Lullaby for the minor 3rd. Alright, we have a chord, or a O in the Saints. Alright, for the major 3rd. We have the Wedding March for the perfect 4th. Alright, now we have the tritone, which is... Alright, it's also called Diabolicus in Musica, which means the devil in music in Latin. So, if you want to... Okay, and then you have the Star Wars for perfect 5th. Alright, now we have the Love Story for minor 6. Alright, and we have NBC for the perfect 6, or major 6, sorry. Alright, and we have the Star Trek for major 7th. Alright, and then we have the Pull for the major 7th. Alright, and then we have the octave, which should sound in tune, unless your guitar needs some intonation. Alright, so let's go back to this scale in thirds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first note, I'm going to go a third away. Alright, then I'm going to go back down to the second note, go third away, back to the third note, third away, back, up a third, back, up a third, back, up a third, back, up a third, and I'm at my root. Alright, so this is a really cool way to practice your major scales. This gets boring real fast, alright? So try it in thirds. Alright, and you can move that around and do all sorts of weird things. I was trying to do it this way a little bit earlier. Now the cool part about that is that when you're going, when you're up here on the E, you're going E, G, F, A, but you just played this F over here. All right, so it's gonna be a little tricky. You gotta think about it. Let's start from C. So C, E, back down to D, to F, E, G, F down here, A, G, B, A, C, B, D, C. Now when you're going down, you're gonna have the same problem. Alright, so there, C, A, B, G, A, F, E, G, E. Now from there, you're gonna have to come up to the F, down to the D, E, and so on. Alright, so it's going to be interesting. Donnie just sent me a message. I don't know what it says though. Anyway, So those are intervals. Intervals are real cool because they help you build chords. And I'm going to stop this lesson because it's a little long, and we are going to do another lesson that I'll post up tomorrow on how to build chords with intervals. Alright, so kind of just get that in your head, and if it was confusing, let me know. I'll try to simplify it. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.